Hey, what's up you guys? It is Tyler, and today I am discussing a topic that was brought to my attention by a YouTuber named Dan Brown. His channel Pogobat has been one of my favorites for years, and he sort of reached out to me recently wanting to include me on this conversation, and I thought it was really interesting and thought-provoking. So here I am. So about a month ago, YouTuber Anthony D'Angelo uploaded a video responding to a question he was asked on Tumblr. The anonymous user wanted to know, what age do you think is ideal to start teaching kids about internet culture and online etiquette, etc, etc. So Anthony went on to discuss the use of personal electronics in education and the importance of teaching children to value technology as a tool for learning rather than just a form of entertainment. A brilliant video, check it out, the link is in the description. So then on Tuesday, Dan uploaded a video response which kind of touched on what Anthony was saying a bit and then continued on to bring up some points that I'd also like to talk about and maybe expand on a bit with my own experience and perspective. So make sure you check out his video, the link is also in the description. So here's my take on the subject. I played a lot of video games growing up. I had like all the gaming consoles and all the handheld devices like all throughout my childhood. And then a couple times a week I would go to my aunt's house and she had like a really cool computer, and even though I had access to the internet, I really only ever used the computer to play more video games. And this is like the time before Xbox Live and PSN, when you would have to get an actual cable and hook it up to your friend's Game Boy if you wanted to trade Pokemons, like right there face to face. So for the most part there wasn't much connectivity at all, it was really just you and your game. And you know, once you had either beaten the game or gotten to a boss that you couldn't beat, or you know, you just got stuck or just got bored of the game, you would turn it off and go outside, climb a tree or ride your bike or something. There wasn't that like constant pressing need to be using technology all the time. Now in school, computers were used as a reward, like you finish your work and then you get to go play games on the computer. Even in the actual computer class, we were playing educational games and learning how to like draw hats and mustaches on ourselves in Microsoft Paint. Excuse my phone going off in the background. And this is, you know, the younger years, like up until like 4th or 5th grade. So all of my exposure to technology as a younger child was solely recreational and entertainment based, and as Anthony said, I think this has kind of been the standard for most all kids. Now, I currently attend an online private school where we all video chat on Google Hangouts. We use like a drawing app that emulates a whiteboard in a classroom, and Google Documents and Drive to turn in our papers and share projects and stuff. So all of the elements of a classroom environment are present, but it's recreated in an online setting, which means that at all times we are like completely submerged in technology. So everything is completely online. Without the internet, the school wouldn't exist. But up until my sophomore year, I went to a public school. And as I talked about earlier, my previous school didn't really know how to effectively implement computers and technology and the internet as tools of learning. Like even in high school. I remember one day when I was in economics class, we got to use the laptops, and our assignment for the whole day was literally just to play an online like coffee shop game where you run a coffee shop business. And you know, while the game was based on the subject, like these are the applications of economics in the real world or something, we were still a classroom full of high school students playing a children's game online for a whole class period, which in my opinion is kind of lazy, or I mean, more than anything, it's a waste of resources. Especially when you have like access to so much information and the potential for learning is really great, and then they had us play a video game. I mean, which was cool, it was fun. I mean, I'm glad, I was happy, I didn't have to do work, but that's just not how you should be using it, especially at a high school level. One particular instance comes to mind where this is also very true, and that is when I had a class in 8th grade that was an entire period for a whole semester solely dedicated to learning every single possible function of Microsoft Word. I was over it after the first week. I started bringing a little flash drive to class that I had loaded up with a proxy program and a modified version of a web browser so that I could bypass the school's firewall and just dick around on YouTube and Facebook all day. So I did that almost every day and ended up finishing the class with a D. So the transition from that to my current school was pretty intense. It took a lot of self-control and responsibility. I had to kind of rethink how I viewed and associated technology and the internet so that I could, you know, actually use it to learn and use the resources to do research and finish my projects and stuff instead of just dicking around on the internet all day. I was, you know, I'm at home on my own computer. I have access to everything. So I think my experience can kind of go back and confirm a little bit of what Anthony and Dan were both saying. So on one side, it was my perception of technology as a use for entertainment rather than education, but on the other side, it was sort of a lack of planning and effort on, the public school teachers' parts. They attempt to put technology into the learning space without actually knowing how to use it for the purpose of education. And these are what ultimately led to the major wake-up call I got whenever my education fully relied on being able to use the internet responsibly in order to learn. Yes, that's the problem, but what do we do? How do we fix it? How do we change that? Okay, I promise I'm getting there. Just bear with me for a few more minutes. So now let's think of where we are today. Technology is undeniably becoming more and more integrated with nearly every aspect of our existence. I mean, kids that are still in diapers are already learning to use technology, tapping around on their parents' iPads and babbling incoherently into little toy phones. Children pick up on stuff and they imitate the actions of their parents, so in an age where technology is increasingly present, it's just another thing that needs to be addressed and taught when bringing up a child. In Dan's video, he talks about limiting kids' internet access and technology use as a way to sort of treat it like a drug, so that way they don't become addicted. But from my experience, the best way to make a kid want to do something is by telling them not to do it. If you try to shelter your kid by telling them, okay, you can use this device between these certain hours and you can only access these certain websites, you're creating kind of a spark of curiosity in their head, I would think. And giving way to this sort of a mindset that's like, oh, what is it they don't want me to see, and how can I get around it so that I can, see what they're hiding? And then as soon as your kid goes somewhere with public internet access, or like over to one of their friends' house and their parents don't have like restricted internet or something, they're just gonna go crazy and like blatantly oppose everything that you've said. Of course, that's kind of like an extreme, and it wouldn't be the case for every child, but that still doesn't mean that that's necessarily a super effective way to parent your child in terms of like technology and internet stuff. So in my opinion, the best thing we can do for a child is just to be honest with them as early as possible. You teach them the reality of the internet, addressing, the amazing uses, but also the dangers. Maybe set expectations for how you want them to use it, but not try to control their every move. In the same sense, we teach them how to conduct themselves online, just how we teach them, to socialize in real life settings. We teach children right from wrong at a very early stage in their development, so it only makes sense to start them off with the same sort of principles when talking about the internet. And then once they're old enough to have personal devices and regular access to the internet, they'll already know how to use it responsibly. And the same goes for education. I think it's a combination of both of what Anthony and what Dan said, because we need work on both parts. The adults, the educators, and the children who are learning. We have to instill this importance and value of the internet as something that has endless applications rather than, just a form of entertainment. But at the same time, the teachers need to be able to integrate that into the school in a way that actually makes sense and benefits the children and really works to help further their education. Kids in this age will grow up using technology, so it's just up to the older generation and even us to guide that use. As Dan said, we need to set an example, but we also need to be, actively teaching kids that the internet is powerful and teach them to use it as a tool and utilize it for, learning and connecting with other people in like a positive way, and just life in general. We have to instill importance and value the internet as something that has so many like endless applications. All we can really do is try to get them started off young in the right direction. So those are my thoughts on the subject. Thank you for watching. Please, leave a comment or a video response if you have something to say about this. And as always, thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. I started bringing a little flashlight. Nope. Little flashlight to class so I could see in the dark. Also, side note, there's only 2 days left to get my shirts. They're still for sale. You can go get one, teespring.com/TyTurner. But yeah, thank you if you get one of those. Don't forget to put a selfie up and tag me in it. I'll see you guys soon.